I had a friend reach out to me the other day about a question regarding the NIV and the King James. Her question was, isn't there a place where the NIV confuses Satan and Jesus, or essentially makes them one and the same person because of an error in translation? I responded to this young lady with, I'll be glad to answer that question, but you may not like the answer that you get. I'm going to tell you, but I want you to look it up and make sure that what I tell you is actually in there. It's my mantra, and I say that all the time to my church family. I say to the students, say it to everyone. Don't take my word for it. Look it up and see if it's in there. So let's do exactly that. Let's look it up and let's see what the Bible says. So here we are in Logos, and I've got several Bible versions open. Going from left to right, top to bottom, we can see that I have open the Hebrew. So this is going to be the equivalent to the Masoretic text. We're going to see the King James in the middle, then the NIV. In the bottom left-hand corner, we've got the Geneva Bible, which is an earlier English translation than the King James, but we also have the Wycliffe Bible, which is the oldest English translation, and it's actually in Middle English, and if you start looking at the screen, you'll see it's very, very difficult to read. In the middle, we have the Latin Vulgate, and then in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the Greek Septuagint. And that is the Old Testament in Greek. So up in the middle section here, we have the King James. And let's look and see what is different between the King James and the NIV in Isaiah 14:12. Now, before we actually read the verse, I want you to understand that this pericope, this passage in Isaiah 14, is dealing with the king of Babylon. There is language used here that many people have taken to assume that it alludes to Satan, okay? But just for clarity, there is no place in the text that literally explicitly tells us that Satan's name before the fall was Lucifer. The reason why we see that is because in the text here, we see a series of I wills, and we see, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God, I'll sit upon the mountains of the mount of the congregation, the sides of the north. And these are things that no man can do. And so the illusion is that it is talking about Satan because of this text here, both in the King James and other versions, that because it uses the word Lucifer, that his name was Lucifer prior to the fall. Again, we just don't see that, but let's look and see what the text says. In verse number 12, Isaiah 14, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? Now, if we move one square to the right, we see what the NIV says. How have you fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn? And right there, that is the conflict that is in question. That's what people look at and say, wait, Jesus is referred to as the bright and morning star. This means that the NIV gets it wrong and is equating Jesus to Lucifer or Jesus to Satan. Well, let's see what that means or where that comes from. All right, which is right, Lucifer or morning star? Well, let's go back and see what they were translated from. So the verse in the Latin Vulgate, the top left-hand corner, sorry, not the top left-hand corner, the bottom middle, right here in the bottom middle, we have Isaiah 14, verse number 12, and we have again the word Lucifer. Now the Latin Vulgate was written around 382 and was the primary Bible used until the time of the Reformation in the 1500s. You can see here that it says Lucifer. Okay, so the Latin Vulgate says Lucifer, the King James says Lucifer, so the NIV must be wrong because it says morning star. But hold up, let's keep studying. In the bottom right-hand corner, we have the Greek Septuagint. We have Isaiah 14. And there, instead of Lucifer, we have the Greek word with the definite article ha. We have ha eosphoros. And eosphoros, or heosphoros, is the word that we get the word phosphorus from. And it means morning star. As a matter of fact, if you look at my screen, you'll see that that Lucifer in the Latin means light bearer. And if we come down and look at Heosphoros, we see that Heosphoros means dawn or morning, or literally the morning star, or the light bearer, the light bearing object in the sky. And you can see down here it's translated as morning star, dawn bringer, Lucifer, day star, shining one, shining star, star of the morning in different translations. But again, Heosphorus is the word is where we get phosphorus from in the English. The Latin word Lucifer is literally the equivalent word for Heosphorus in the Greek. Heosphorus in the Greek comes from the Hebrew word in the top left-hand corner, Hillel. You can see that right here. Hillel is here in Isaiah 14:12, and it means the morning star. The word Lucifer doesn't appear until the Latin Vulgate in 382 AD. When Jerome creates his Latin version of the Bible, and he uses the Latin word for phosphorus, which is Lucifer, literally meaning the light bringer. Again, that's the Latin equivalent of the Greek word phosphorus. Lucifer is not a proper name. We don't see it used that way until we get to the English versions, when they transliterated the Latin word Lucifer and made it a proper name by capitalizing the first letter. Now, the truth is, there is nowhere in the scriptures that teaches us that before Satan fell, his name was Lucifer. It just isn't there. It's been read into the text over many centuries, and now it's almost impossible to escape that mindset. The NIV did not get it wrong here. Yep, I said that. In fact, the King James translators didn't even get it wrong here. It's a nuance of translation, but unless one understands the word and how it came to be, it can easily cause confusion and conflict. Look, you may not like the answer that I've given you. I understand that. It's a hard pill to swallow because if you're like me, you've heard all of your lives that the NIV is a horrible translation and it wrongly translates Isaiah 14:12 and makes Jesus and Satan one and the same. There's only one problem. That just isn't the case with Isaiah 14:12. The people who told you that were not lying to you. They honestly didn't know. But now that I've told you, not just told you, but now that I've shown you from many different Bible translations, and when I say Bible translations, yes, I've compared the King James to the NIV, but we've gone back and traced it back, the translation back through the Latin, through the Old Testament Greek, through the Hebrew. We've even looked at other English translations, and we've seen how we get to where we are today with our English translations. So again, you may not like it, but verify this. Look this up. I've shown you the words that you need to study. I've shown you where you can find them, and you can go and verify this for yourself.